Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, where we go across country and travel the world with members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. Let's go. Welcome, everybody. You know, our third Mondays, we get to chat with travel writers about recent destinations and experiences. All of the writers are members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, which we call IFWTWA. It's an easier way to go. You can check them out at IFWTWA.org. And today we're excited to chat with Feuza Reis. She is known as Fuse, and that's what her blog is, Fuse Travels. So go to fusetravels.com, like blowing a fuse. But we don't want to blow a fuse. But
No.
she's a travel writer, and today she's going to tell us about. This is so fascinating because a lot of us are, expats in different ways, and have been expats, or maybe looking for an expat destination. She's going to tell us about what's going on in Sicily, about buying property and renovating these historic homes. It seems pretty cost effective, but you never know when you start digging into into a wall, right? But welcome. How are you? Welcome, Fusa.
Thank you. I'm well. I'm having the post-trip blues a little bit mixed
Uh,
with I was away for 3 weeks, and then it's mixed with, oh, I actually should be happy being home and getting kind of recharged and just reorganized and then to plan the next trip, right?
ah. So where is your next trip?
So the next trip, I'm trying to get back to Europe in September, and probably Alaska also in September as well. So I'm working on that, and then just there's some family trips happening to New Jersey and Massachusetts for the summer.
Oh, cool. So now you travel with your husband too, and he does the photography and drone photography?
So he actually just does the drone. I am
Okay.
a photographer. So I've been a photographer for 16 years. My
Yeah.
previous life, let's call it, I was a wedding and portrait photographer.
Okay, wow.
That was my first taste of the creative entrepreneurship. But I've been traveling all my life because I'm
Mm-hmm.
originally from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been interesting for my husband and I is that only 6 years ago that we on a trip to Italy was when things kind of shifted for us because when you are an immigrant and you live in a different well, essentially we're an expat here, right?
Yeah.
The travel back to the mother country is always looked at as just kind of obligatory travel. And I feel like my husband and I have had to redefine what travel means to us because sometimes when there's travel associated with visiting family as an immigrant, there could be even like traumatic things associated or just like an obligation. Because when
Mm-hmm.
I would always spend a lot of summers in Brazil with Grandma Fusa, who I'm named
Mm-hmm.
after, there was never an incentive to travel. I mean, Brazil's a gorgeous country, but there was never an incentive to like explore. So you almost felt like, oh, I'm visiting family because I have to. This is nice. But it wasn't until 6 years ago that we had this like life changing trip where things really shifted for us. And it was just very eye opening.
Mm. So then you started your blog then?
No, I wish. But the funny thing is, on our second trip to Italy, we started joking around, pretending we were vloggers, just because we had watched so many YouTube channels to prep for the trip. And we would like, when I look at the footage, it's really bad, it's shaky, and it was like comedic, but it was definitely almost prophetic because look at us, that's exactly what we're
Yeah.
doing 6 years later. At the time, I really thought like, oh, it's too competitive, and I taught SEO for photographers. So
Oh, okay, cool.
I was a local SEO strategist. And I was like, that's going to be hard. It's just too competitive. And I didn't start the blog till our trip 2.5 years ago, where we took the family. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do a TikTok for travel. And then I had some videos go viral because COVID had
Hmm.
just opened up for travel. And, there were some people
Yeah.
very passionate about if you should travel or not. And that just I kind of went viral, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the blog. So I had a local blog about business and South Florida because that's where I'm based, and I turned it into Fuse Travels, and I haven't looked back.
Awesome. Awesome. It's fun though, isn't it?
It
You know,
is, it is.
it's hard work though. We do these travels, and that's the thing where people don't see, everything moves fast. There's no real downtime on these trips, unless you really carve it in there. And then you come back and it's like, here's all the footage, here's all the stuff, and then everybody's like, "Have you written it yet?"
Yeah, yeah, and I just wrapped up that article, which like I was done, and then it took hours of editing and like photos and credit. It is a lot of work, and the thing with I think with what we do, it's really a lifestyle. So there,
Hmm.
it can look glamorous, especially on social media, but and when you're first starting out, especially if you're not monetizing or if you're not really getting like the assignments, it could be discouraging, but you just have to remember it's a lifestyle. So
Hmm.
that's really what motivates me and keeps me going because I
Hmm.
do this to travel more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, and everyone, I wanted to make sure you go to fusetravels.com. Links are in the show notes, but she's got an article talking about this buying property in Sicily and these €1 homes in San Piero Patti. I don't know. She's going to have to pronounce everything for me today. But the article is in liveinItalymag.com. The link is in the episode notes, but it's liveinItalymag.com. So Italy kind of opened your eyes up, and so you've fallen in love with Italy from what I gather.
Yeah, so, like and it was funny because I thought it was just me, and then my husband, like, we're like, "Let's go back again." And then it was like, "Oh, it's my 40th, let's go back again." And we just felt like such a connection to the place, almost like I don't believe in previous lives or anything, but there was this connection there
Hmm.
that I was like, "That's funny," because I thought maybe I would wanna retire in Brazil, and now I'm seeing myself in this place, and then I looked up the whole soul place. So really Italy is our soul place. It is the number one country that I cover on the blog and usually my assignments. I do also talk about Portugal. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese.
But
And
that's
then
going to help you with Italian too, right?
yes,
That
yes.
because it's
Right
all
now
the
I'm
Romantic
studying.
languages.
Yes, so
Yeah.
I'm studying Italian right now. So, and then also through the association, I got to go on a wonderful trip in Greece too. So Greece. So those are kind of my four top countries right now: Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Greece are kind of
Okay,
like
cool.
where I'm focusing on.
Hmm.
But and it's Europe. So all my travels are really to Europe. So when I'm not traveling, I'm home with the dogs. That's really what I'm doing.
And so the Greece trip that you went on, that was through IFWTWA, the International Food Wine Travel Writers
Yeah.
Association. And then Italy, that's how you met your friend Lisa from liveinItalyMag.com.
Yes, yes.
Cool.
So the funny thing is, we were in the group, and she was looking for writers, and I saw that it was Italy. So we're in the same Facebook group, but then we were like, "Wait, are you in South Florida?" And so we're both like 30 minutes away from each other.
Oh,
So then,
cool.
yeah, we met in person, and then she does a lot of like the Italian American events. And there's just a lot of wine related events, which I don't mind
So
going.
sad. It is IFTWA, the Food, Wine, and Travel Writers
Yes.
Association. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's
Oh,
just been great, right? Like to connect, and then now connecting with you too for
it's
this
fun.
podcast. And then I think, they do such a good job with the social media engagement and the
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group, which is very impressive. It's hard sometimes in other groups where you don't really see that. So being part of the association has been one of the best things for me.
That's awesome to hear. And let's go to Sicily. And everyone, there's a conference coming up in September in upstate New York. So go to IFWTWA.org for that. And you don't have to be a member to go to the conference, though. Why wouldn't you become a member? Like,
I
duh.
mean, it's worth its
It's
weight
like,
in
duh.
gold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like just these opportunities, these press trips that they have, then the social media engagement. I think it's just really supportive.
Mm,
And they're very organized. And then they also have their own conferences too.
right. Now, going to Sicily, this is such a fascinating way of living there because I know people that have actually moved to Italy and their whole thing. We were pet sitting for them because they kept going over until they found their home, but they aren't doing this. And I wish I'd known about this because I think they would have loved it. But this is kind of a way of keeping these buildings from basically going away, right? This is actually kind of a preservation movement for these historic homes, right?
Yeah, so absolutely. So right before COVID, there was the first time I've ever heard about this. And the first project that I saw featured on the news was actually Brazilian news. It was a tiny,
Mm-hmm.
tiny town, very far away, and they were having this issue where the youth were moving away, and the population essentially almost like dying. So they're called communes there, which is almost
Mm-hmm.
like a township or almost
It's
like
like
a
a
town.
village.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So each commune does have their own,
but it's
different.
not a hippie commune.
No, no,
Just had to make sure.
no, no, no. So this project in Italy, and Sicily, which is a part of Italy, of course, that is the goal. So it's to preserve culture. It's to
Mm-hmm.
bring, just people back to the city because a lot of the youth will just go
Mm-hmm.
away
Mm-hmm.
and they will move out and then not come back sometimes. And then sometimes there's like these businesses that have been open for a long time, but then, the next generation doesn't really want to take care of that and they want to do something else.
Mm.
But in San Piero Patti, what's really interesting is that they have this historical quarter which is like the Arabiti quarter. So Sicily was, invaded by so many different groups. So at
Mm-hmm.
one point where the Arabs were very prominent, they made so the architecture, the way that things are made in this little quarter, is from that era. So this quarter is where most of the €1 homes that they have right now available,
Okay.
and they're trying to revive this very important historical and cultural part of San Piero Patti. And San
Mm.
Piero Patti is located in the Messina area. And what I really loved is that it's like 25 minutes from the beach. So that was kind of
Cool.
like my favorite thing. It's not out in the boonies. It's not a ghost town. Sometimes when you think, I don't know if you've seen anything with €1 homes, but it could be just ruins or it could be auction, which is not the case here.
Okay. And it's cool because on the article, you also have a video showing like going to different ones. You went with a mayor. A mayor was taking you around. I mean,
Oh my God,
and
this is so I have a funny story. So, when I got there, Consuelo is the local rep who's super helpful, and she was like basically my host. And then she introduces me to Cinzia, and she says, "Oh, this is the major." And I'm like, "Okay." I had no idea what she was referring to. And then Cinzia starts walking with us, and we go to the coffee shop, and then Consuelo's like, "Yeah, the major." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Are you a police officer?" I was like, clueless.
like a major, a sergeant major in the military. Like,
And
yeah,
she's like, "No, no, no, mayor." I was like, "Oh, mayor," because what happened
yeah.
was once they saw that I knew a little Italian, they spoke like 70% of the time in Italian
Oh,
to me.
wow.
So, some things like I had to confirm with her for the article after because I felt some things were like lost in translation. But yes, so the mayor drove us around, which was really funny. But she has a really great vision. She has a really, she's very passionate about the project. And it's funny because when you're walking in a small village with the mayor, she gets stopped every 3 minutes, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody sees her and they're like, "Oh, let's talk about this road," or, "Oh, this is happening." So it was just funny because Consuelo is also very well known in the village. And they knew, like, like it's a small village. So they knew we
Hmm.
were foreigners. We are not from
Yeah.
there. It was just like so nice to be hosted. But there were a lot of amazing things that I loved about it, the experience.
And it seems like you went to three different places, but which is a good balance. But you go in and like, how much do you have to pay? Like, it's just is. I thought at the beginning it was like, here's my dollar, but it's not. You have to pay like $5,000 deposit, right?
Yes. So the goal is always to renovate. So it's never going to be just €1, right? The goal is essentially these homes are volunteered by the proprietors. They're just giving this because there's just a lot of abandoned property. So the goal is it needs to be renovated in order to be livable or in order to, repopulate the
Be
place.
an asset to the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I know there's some other communes where they have different requirements, even about business and things like that. But in San Piero Patti, basically it's €1. Well, you choose the home. €1, and then there's a €5,000 deposit. Now, this is refundable.
Mm,
This is really just to guarantee that you're going to do what you said you're going to do.
yeah, okay.
So it is refundable later. And what I really also thought was incredible was you have 5 years to renovate. So that
That's
before
pretty
you,
cool.
yeah, it used to be 3 years. So they know that people need more time to visit beforehand and people can't be there all the time. And then things in Italy are slow. Like
I was
you're
gonna
gonna,
say, yeah, and you're gonna have to find construction people, and you're not quite yeah, I can see where you're maybe not living there with running water and electricity at that time, depending on the place, right?
right. So they're very good about like giving you a lot of support. Like Consuelo is very well versed in like who's who as far as like construction, architect, anything you need, but still will take time, right? It can take time
Mm,
depending on what you do. The other thing to keep in mind is that in this Adabit quarter, like it's you go through kind of like those gates, those building like of the
mhm.
church, and then many areas it's not accessible by car. So then you're gonna have like kind of an extra charge for people to bring the construction
Oh,
materials.
okay.
Yes. So, but it's still very affordable when we looked at all the 3 homes. And there was one home, if my husband was on board, I would jump on it, but we're not there yet.
She's inching.
Yes. Because there was one home that was essentially move-in ready, and I was like, "Oh my goodness," because the 3rd home was actually confusing to even film. The 3rd home was, like, definitely full gut, and it had a lot of floors, and it was a little confusing. The 1st home had some infiltration, like water stuff on in the ceiling. So how much would you need to renovate, I guess, is, like, the big
Yeah.
question. It can range from the one that's move-in ready, probably, like, 10, 12,000. Then the highest one could be 100,000. Also depends what you plan to do with it.
Hmm. Right.
But again, 5 years. So if I'm thinking, so the middle home was about 50,000 only because of this water infiltration, because the bones are really good. If it wasn't for this roof issue, it would be even less.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have certain requirements of how it needs to look on the outside, not really on the inside. Like
Okay.
you can't just go there and color the outside of your home like this color, right?
Okay, so basically you've got like you've got the historic requirements. Like a historic district here, they do that where you can't go and paint, this historic home bright pink, like a homeowners
Right.
association, but it's a
Yes,
little different, um,
yes.
a little stricter in a way because it's still historic.
Exactly. So like that second home, we're going to call Mr. Mondello's home. It was move-in ready, and then there's a second part of the home which is double the size of the home, which we couldn't actually get into. It was locked. That's why you don't see it in the video. But it's essentially double the space of the home, and it's like storage. But you could create a kitchen there. You could create a lot of things.
Wow, cool.
For that home, all you really need to fix in order to, let's say, commit to your to what you promise is the exterior on the side of that home. So that is about, I think there was like 10,000, maybe a little bit less, and then there was one floor you needed to fix. So that one could
Mm,
be about 10 to
doable.
12,000. And remember, you get the 5,000 back. So it's not
Mm,
like you're spending 17,000, right?
right.
And then it's like aesthetics. You're going to do a paint job. You might redo the bathroom if you wish.
Hmm.
But the cool thing about that one is that like it's move-in ready. So essentially I have a place already that I could spend while I work on the other things and
Yeah.
set up my water bill and things like that. So
It's
yeah.
doable. That's doable. Yeah. Well, and it all depends on people's budget and time. And are you going to try and live there while you're doing it? Some people are going to have to commute, if they're going from the States back and forth until it's ready, and then they're ready to do maybe a full move, or maybe it's a second home, right? Or a third home, or can they turn it into like an Airbnb? Is that something, or would they go against
Yes.
that?
So that you definitely can, which is also very cool and nice of them. And one thing I think another thing that they have going for them is that like the rental has gone up. So
Hmm.
there's been more demand for rent because there's actually a lot of Argentinians who are working on their citizenship. So I don't know if there was like a family back in the day that moved to Argentina, but
Hmm.
in order to get the citizenship, they have to like prove the family, descendants, and it takes longer. So they say it's going to be 3 months, ends up being 6 months. Anyway, this
Mm.
influx of the Argentinian community and I guess more expats has caused the rent to go up. So I think there's an investment opportunity here, not like huge investment, okay?
Hmm.
Never not like you can see in the US, but
Right.
maybe to rent it out when you're not there and at least it's going to pay like utility bills and give you some little bit of money
Yeah.
later too.
Pay you back in. That's cool. Yeah, it can pay for itself until you're ready, you know? This is
Exactly.
exciting. And so you were saying the beach isn't far. And so what would you say people get to experience there if they're going to move there or vacation in this home and, try to enjoy this process too? What are some of the things people can enjoy doing?
So one thing I think, and I think Nikki Taylor from La Dolce Vita magazine does really well is I think anyone that's considering expat life, moving abroad, especially to Europe, you have to understand that it's also a mindset shift, and you have to embrace slow living. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
no way that you're going to go and be at the pace that you are now.
Hmm.
So things like things closing in the afternoon, right? Like, and it is a whole lifestyle change, right? Which I'm 45, so I'm older. I'm like ready to like embrace this type of slow living lifestyle because their goal is to preserve their culture and their heritage. They're not,
Hmm.
wanting to make this some casino, like nothing like
Yeah.
that. So the kinds of experiences we went to, like four amazing experiences. The church that they have there is incredible. There was a convent that was connected to this church that has this museum. That this convent used to be full of art and workshops, and you can see a lot of the things that they
Mm.
used to do, which is great. There's also a lot of agriturismo, so a lot of farms in like the villages
Mm.
close within like 10 minutes from there.
Nice.
There's opportunities to buy land too if you wanted to. So like for example, we visited this one agriturismo and it was like a pizzeria for dinner. So it's called El Dino. It's actually deer meat pizza they had. But this place it's like a wedding venue, but also there's these little villas that for accommodations, which was really cool.
Oh, that's nice.
So there's the Tenuti Gatti winery that we visited because wine in
Yeah,
Sicily
you
is
must.
is, is strong. So it the people there were so nice. So it was just nice to have like these cultural experiences and see how they live, right? And it is like, seeing um the safety. It's super safe place. The kids are playing by themselves in the piazza. People
Oh.
leave their doors open, their cars open. Like there's like two police officers, but there's really like no crime. But it's like I think the slow living, there's some things that you need to consider if like that's for you, right? It's also, I
Hmm.
think cooking and eating is different. Like it's a lot of local vegetables and fruits and
Hmm.
farm to table. But if you ever visit Sicily, you could go to Messina. And so San Piero Patti is about 1 hour from Messina, 2 hours from each airport. So it's pretty
Okay.
centralized from each airport, 25 minutes from the beach. And you can stay there and just try out some of these local experiences, get to know the people. Consuelo will do a great job hosting
Mm.
you and showing you some of the historical things.
That's cool, man. It's quite an opportunity. And I think, we've got all the boomers who are doing things, doing a lot of travel, right? And so this is something that it will really appeal to people, just even new retirees going, hey, let's do this, and
Right.
it could be all ages, everybody's at a different place of their life or what they want to do. And yeah, real estate is always good, you know?
Yeah, and then I'm starting classes with Valeria, who's having a retreat there in September. I didn't send that to you, but I could
Mm.
send you the info because what she does is she teaches Italian online and then she hosts these retreats and then you get to practice Italian in real life, but she'll take you to local experiences. Like you could go to a ricotta farm, which is fun too.
Yeah.
see how ricotta is made and eat some ricotta as well.
Okay.
Um,
With
it,
wine.
and wine, and amazing wine. Yes,
That's
that
how
too.
you do language classes with wine.
I
That's
know. I mean, I always say, like, the more wine, I parlo italiano molto bene.
there you go. That's it. That's it. I know, but it sounds like so much fun. So you're going to do it? Are you looking at doing this?
So I'm going to apply for the Italy Nomad Digital Visa, which it's officially out, but not officially out. So
Mm,
Euronews reported that it was out. I got very excited. A lot of people got very excited, but they haven't passed it on to the consulates here. So
okay.
technically, if you go to the consulate, you can apply to it. I did do a video about the requirements. So I'm going to do that first. And then there's some other areas in Italy that I want to explore and just go back more times to really see. My husband's more of a hustle and bustle kind of
Hmm.
person. So I have to get him on board. I'm like totally ready to just go and like, take care of my herb garden.
She wants an herb garden. I want the rooftop patio. That's what I
I
want.
know. Yes.
That looks
Yeah.
like a good wine time spot, you know?
Yes, and they have like depending where you are in San Piero, you see like the three islands. And
Oh,
it's funny because one of the islands it's called Volcano, and I thought it was a volcano. So I was like, what's the name of the volcano? But it's actually called Volcano.
okay.
So it's Lipari
Oh,
volcano, and I forget. And then there's Tromboli, which is a volcano. So the views are amazing. I also thought the weather was it was really hot, but you get the wind because you're in the mountains.
oh, that's
Um,
nice.
Yes. So I thought that
Yeah.
was another plus.
Yeah, well, I mean, going from South Florida to that, it's going to be a little cooler, actually,
Yes.
right? Just a little drier, more dry air, right?
Yeah.
Than yeah, what Florida has. But this is just so fascinating. So they're doing this all over Europe. It seems like in throughout Italy, or is, you know?
In Italy, there's more places I've seen. So, like the most famous one is that Mussomeli, which is in Sicily. So that one has been all over the news.
Hmm.
That one is kind of like really big for expat, life. And then what I do know is that you have to, if you're looking into something like this, you want to make sure that how many years you have to renovate, and also that it's not an auction. So that's
Yeah.
what I liked about San Piero Patti. It's really €1. The 5,000 is just a deposit. It's it's your guarantee that you're going to do something there. But in certain other communes, it's an auction. So I wouldn't
Hmm.
probably not do an auction. The other thing is you also have very affordable homes that are kind of like it's 10,000, but it probably needs another 10 to 20,000, which is still very affordable compared
Hmm.
to what we can. I mean, South Florida,
Yeah,
when
yeah, really. Come on. Yeah.
30,000, you're not gonna get
You're
anything.
gonna get a railing.
Yeah, like,
Here's
yeah,
one step and a half. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the way. Wow. Well, very cool. Thank you for sharing this with our audience, and I think people are going to find this fascinating to go and,
Yes.
investigate and see what they want to do. Especially, I know so many people. Like I know you've got to know Chris Cutler, right? From
Mhm.
IFWTWA. She's, any chance she can get to Italy, she's in. She-
I know. That's me. I'm like, "Yes,
I yeah, once you
let's
get
go."
into it, you're in. So very
Yeah.
cool. Everyone, again, the links are in the episode notes, but you can go to fusetravels.com, also liveinItalyMag.com, and of course go to IFTWA at IFWTWA.org. And so happy travels to you and good travel writing and have fun. Enjoy.
Thank you, Lisa, so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show, featuring members of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We encourage you to visit their website. We say IFTWA, which is IFWTWA.org. You can also follow us at bigblendradio.com. Happy travels, everyone!